The church is going to try to work with Scouting. It's going to require a lot more work on our behalf, but to make sure that Scouting can still be hosted by Catholic institutions, by churches, but making sure that the Scout troops, the host organization, our values are respected, and that. So that.
And we have such a vested interest in the Scouts. I think people underestimate how much our church really is involved with this institution.
Right. I think in the Diocese of Brooklyn, something like 60% of all the Scout troops are hosted by the Catholic faith.
That's
church.
huge.
So it's an enormous number of groups that are affected by this. So it's something that obviously we're going to have to work very hard to monitor and to work under the guidance to see if we can keep this obviously.
It drives home why this is such an important story for us.
Yeah.
And let's also talk about the fact that we live in a very litigious society. There is an exemption, obviously, which, by the way, religious groups make up about 70% as a whole. Did you find that there was a suitable compromise by having that exemption status available? Because it still flies in the face of our teaching.
Well, that's the difficult. It's going to require a lot more effort on the local level. The BSA is putting the responsibility on the churches, especially the pastors, that are going to have to be in touch with their groups, specifically issues such as a troop or pack participating in a gay pride parade or something like that. So that's something that's going to have to be watched. If something that publicly has done something in Scout uniform, maybe the Scouts will also, they don't endorse that either. If there's so that's something that it's going to have to be monitored. It's going to create more responsibility on
and more risks. And the reason that I bring up the legal aspect of it is it does relax for most organizations the discrimination threat. The case has been made that this could head off looming lawsuits, but for groups based at churches, however, that threat of litigation still exists.
That's a very big concern. It's a very serious problem then that they've taken it off their plate, the BSA, but they've down the road we could have some serious problems with this so I do feel well, there's a lot to be said here. I mean, clearly, I've been involved in Scouts since I was a Cub Scout.
You have been, 1982 Eagle Scout. This has just been part of your
my life. I mean, obviously, we didn't go on vacations. I went to Scout camp. My parents were happy to get rid of me, I guess. So I remember just those 2 weeks up at Onteora, and it's how I got Eagle, just doing all these merit badges and learning that I could, in fact, swim a mile without stopping. And so Scouting has done a lot for me. It really was really a wonderful, wonderful program, and so it was great to have that, to offer that.
Did you ever in your life, just as an Eagle Scout, as a Scout at heart, and now as a priest of our diocese, ever imagine such a fundamental shift in the policies of the Boy Scouts of America?
Well, it's a difficult, when I go to Scouting events and you say the Scout oath, on my honor, I'll do my best, do my duty to God and my country, to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. That hasn't changed since I was a kid. That's not a lot of things have done that. Even when we say the creed, we got a new translation. I mean, obviously a different thing, but so it's something that hasn't changed, and unfortunately, some, like when the Girl Scouts have changed their oath over the 80 or 90 years. You could see how it's gotten progressively more subjective, a little more watered down, and in its religious content. The Scout oath has stayed the same, so it's it's hard to imagine.
We try to keep up with the times, obviously. We have to move forward, we have to progress. The thing about Catholics is what grounds us in our faith is that we're strengthened by these unshakable truths. That's what holds us together. So when the Boy Scouts of America, this huge organization, makes this kind of decision, how do you reassure us now that our truths are still relevant and resolute?
Well, first of all, you go back to the fundamentals of our faith, that we are all made in the image and likeness of God, and that people, even with the same-sex attraction, are afforded the same dignity, the same dignity that all human beings are afforded to, Also, it's important for us to recall as a society our morality, not only just for for same-sex attracted, but for heterosexuals too. That intimate relationships, sexual relations are appropriate under the bond of marriage. To teach that, to reinforce that. Oftentimes I feel as a priest that when this issue of same-sex attraction gets a lot of coverage, wait a minute. We fail to teach about couples living together, cohabitating, and other
so many
premarital
different layers.
sex that sort of if you let that, you slide on that issue, or you look the other way on that issue, then it creates a kind of ambient situation where people say, well, if I'm giving a pass on that, why not give a pass to these other things? So you have to get back to that. I think that's very, very important. Certainly there are people who are leaders, who are gay or same-sex attracted kids in the scouting program. There were from the beginning. Okay, that's a reality.
Sure.
I think that just the concern is that if the scouting movement, the danger is it could be used as an agency for political social change, that somebody might come to that with an agenda.
And that's what we want to avoid.
And use that.
Yes.
And so I think that's the problem there. But it's not about the same compassion and understanding people of same-sex attraction to make them understand that they're afforded the same dignity and respect as individuals, as children of God.
Father Tom, you have a charge and a challenge ahead of you, but I know you'll be able to handle it. We'll be praying for you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Liz. God bless you, and thank you very much.